Today we are talking about something almost everyone who's been single in the last decade has experienced: dating app fatigue, ghosting, endless swiping, conversations that go nowhere, great matches that disappear overnight. Dating apps have connected millions of couples, but they also have left millions of people feeling exhausted, frustrated, and wondering if they are doing something wrong. So today we are asking, are we expecting too much from dating apps, building lasting relationships? To help us answer that question, we are joined by Rik Foote, founder of Heaven, a dating platform taking a very different approach to compatibility. Welcome to Love Hacks.
Hi, all, and welcome to Love Hacks. I'm Renee, and this is
Michaela,
and we have a guest. Sorry, Michaela. Rick, welcome, Rick.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, we're glad you're here. So, welcome to Love Hacks, Rick. And before we dive in, I want to give our listeners a little context about who you are and what you're building.
Sure.
Can you expand on that?
Sure. So my name is Rik Foote. I'm the founder and CEO of Haven. We are a city-by-city dating and matching network. So I founded Haven after 30 years of working in the technology business. I was a senior executive in large organizations solving business problems with technology. And when I retired from that, I had a passion in the personal connection space, and I felt there was an opportunity to use technology to solve problems in this area as well. So that's how Haven started.
Wow! And have you seen? Okay, so how long have you been working on Haven?
Yeah, it's been the last 2 years that I've been working on Haven, mostly from a development standpoint. We are an application. It's not a mobile app, so there's no app to download, which is already different than maybe what many of your listeners are expecting. But it is technology nonetheless in the background. So it's been about 2 years of developing that, and we've launched that now. We go only city by city. When I said local, so we take one city at a time. Right now, Austin, Portland, and Tampa are our markets that are live, and we have a schedule of others that are coming on every month here as we go forward.
Awesome. So and what's the turnout been like? I mean, in terms of what is it? Portland, Oregon, Tampa Bay, Florida, right? I guess, or
Correct.
Tampa, Florida,
That's right.
and Austin, Texas. So what's that? How's that going? You have a great turnout.
It's been going great. We have users that are signing up every day. We're delivering matches on a regular basis. There's quite a lot that's different about what we do. So it'd take a little bit of explaining, but it's been fantastic. It's been an exciting experience.
Awesome. Well, Michaela, we want to hear about obviously the pros, but we can kick off with perhaps a con, and Michaela's gonna sort of lead into that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say are the cons, Michaela? Can you follow up on that?
Yeah, of course. The thing is, we already know that with apps, we have a lot of information about a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest problems that we have been working with is that people are reaching to us, telling us that people sometimes doesn't reach out anymore, or they ghosted them, and they feel like sad about it because somehow self-esteem goes down very quickly because of that, because you are talking with so many people and suddenly maybe you have 20 people there and nobody is choosing you or nobody is talking to you, or suddenly one or two are reaching and suddenly they disappeared. So it's a big problem because it hurts a lot of people at the same time,
Right.
because we know also that a lot of people do it for fun, not for actually dating someone, but they want to meet people and have fun and nothing really serious. So how is your app helping to avoid that kind of situation?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's one that's pretty common. We hear this often, so it's not new. I'd say the first thing is that let's explain why this is happening as much as it does, and then I'll talk about how we solve for that. But I would say one of the biggest reasons why you see that type of behavior is typically because if you think about any sort of software application, mobile application, uh, the design intent is to make it as easy as possible for the user to get in and get started. So they call it like a low friction entry point, right? So when it's easy to get in, it's easy to get in. So when there's low effort, low intention, you have people that have different priorities, different interests, um, and that right out of the gates creates a mismatch of intention. So
Okay.
you have some people that have an intent for a long-term serious relationship and others that are just there for fun because they're bored and pretty much anything in between. They're all thrown into the same room if you kind of think about it like that. And you're asked to go figure out on your own who's the right person for you, not only from a chemistry standpoint and a compatibility standpoint, but from an intent standpoint as well.
Mm.
And so that's a lot of work for an individual to do. And then you multiply that by the volume that exists in many of the apps, it becomes overwhelming. So ghosting happens when it's easy to move on to the next person. It's and there's low investment in creating that initial connection. It's easy to just throw it away and move on to the next. At Haven, a couple things are different here. Number one, we have a very detailed onboarding process. We have a survey that every member completes. It takes about 15 minutes, and through that process, we learn who you are, what your preferences are, what your boundaries are, what you're looking for in great detail. It's an adaptive survey. So the survey that I complete might be a little bit different than the survey you complete based on what my intentions are. It starts with intent. So, for example, if I'm looking for a casual dating experience, it's not going to ask me long term dating related questions. So once you get through all of that process, now you are discoverable in the Haven network. And our technology in the background, our algorithms essentially do two levels of matching on behalf of the user. So the user doesn't have to swipe through anything. They don't have to search. What happens is we go through and we look at all of your hard no's or boundaries or what we call gates. So there's what's called almost like a deterministic matching engine there from a tech perspective. And then we look at preferences and things like that, and those are weighted, and that's part of our algorithm. So ultimately, at the end of it, every member gets a set of introductions to other members that are at least 80% compatible or higher. If they don't meet that bare 80% threshold, then you never see each other. There's no list of people or faces to swipe through or scroll through. You're only introduced if it makes sense. And then we notify you once a week on Monday, which we call Match Monday, when we find new matches for you. So you don't have to check every 5 minutes to see if something's changed. Both parties are notified at the same time every single Monday whenever we find new matches. So that solves a little bit of the problem. You've already filtered out low intent people, and you're only putting people together that have, that are looking for the same thing. So
Well, that sounds amazing. I wish, um, uh, it sounds because yeah, the low intent and a lot of time is wasted on people either ghosting or like even I can tell you I've been through some of these apps and like they'll say, "Oh, what age range are you looking for?" Things in common. And I've in the past I've gotten people that have absolutely nothing in common with me, even though I've filled out those supposed filters. So I think, tell me something. Do you think Haven will become international? Because I can tell you because I've been on those apps, on several apps. There's a lack of knowing to match people. Like, well, obviously Tinder is the big. I think it's burnt now. Its reputation is a little off now because of that film, that Tinder film or whatever. What was it? It came out on Netflix a few years ago.
Oh,
But
the
the
documentary
Tinder
about
swindler, yeah. Not to burn Tinder, but what I'm getting at is the people who really don't want to waste their time on people who want to be casual. Do you think Haven, if do you, first of all, do you think Haven is going to expand and get into the international market? Because that would be the sort of app I'd go for.
Yeah, that is our plan. We have a very aggressive rollout schedule, but we're very, very deliberate about what we do and when we do it. So we want to make sure that a couple of things happen before we roll to new markets. Number one, we need to have enough membership density in that location in order for it to make sense. So we want to make sure that we can provide quality matches for our members. And Haven is also equally focused on moving people away from the technology. So as I mentioned, there's no app to download. You don't check it regularly. We'll notify you when the matches are there. And then we partner with local community businesses and things like that to provide places for dates and things like that. So we're very focused on community. So city by city is our model instead of a big, national or international play. So very targeted, almost laser focused. But absolutely, we have an expansion plan that takes us international. We're just not there yet.
Oh, well, but that's exciting to hear. And I'm going to throw in, while we're talking about this, now I know Haven is not an app. Like you guys contact your clients, etc. But in your honest opinion, Rik, what do you think about dating app fatigue? And Kyla, please go ahead and expand on this.
I'm always have the bad role here.
Oh,
I'm the bad here. No, it's okay. Yeah, because again, people get tired about the same kind of patterns that almost all the apps have. So they try to feel like they have a connection with someone, and then there's no connection. People have the wrong idea about connection, as
Right.
we have been talking a lot in this podcast, is that people think that because you have a feeling about something who makes you think like butterflies or fireworks and stuff like that, you have a connection. And
Sure.
it's very hard to have a real connection with someone through an app. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very hard because one thing is having someone in front of you interacting with you, and the other is interacting through an app because
Sure.
you don't really know how the person is, in front of you. So,
Right.
and we have that in the new generations more than ours because we didn't have that kind of situation.
We're Gen X's. I don't know. Are you a Gen X, Rik?
I am 55, so I'm square. I'm smack in the middle with Gen X.
Oh, well, we all are. So we didn't deal with that kind of problematic in our
Right.
life. We wanted to meet someone, we have to go for it and face rejection and whatever comes through this
Sure.
situation. And so how you can explain or what is the difference in your app to, stop people, not letting them go to the boring stuff, and the connection thing.
So yeah, there's a few things there that I'll address. Number one, the dating apps are designed to give you that dopamine hit and excitement right out of the gates. So that's part of the model, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, if that's what you're looking for or interested in, that's great. If you're looking for meaningful connection without all the effort associated and the gamification and some of the other downsides of modern dating apps, then that's a different conversation.
Okay.
If you take a step back and think about how dating has worked, um, I really see it as like three phases or three waves. Initially was organic for the entirety of human history. Dating was organic. You met people through community, uh,
Yeah.
introductions through family, friends, church. I mean, random paths crossing, things like that. Um, and then the internet came along and we saw the second wave. And the second wave introduced search with
Indeed.
apps like Match.com and Plenty of Fish and eHarmony and others. And it provided access to millions of people. And so you no longer had to rely on community to match, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a third wave now happening, and that's really more about discoverability. So if you think about it like LinkedIn for your professional life, uh, LinkedIn isn't successful because they digitized resumes. They've really perfected the discoverability and the way introductions are made professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Haven's approaching it very similar from a personal relationship perspective. Completing a survey creates the profile for the user. So there is no writing a profile, figuring out what right words to say that present you in the best light possible. There's none of that. It's simply being open, honest, and deliberate about answering the questions truthfully. And then we take it from there. And so when an introduction is made, it's less about that spark of chemistry. We
Mm-hmm.
hope that that's what's happening, but our job is to make sure that we provide reasonable introductions that have a higher likelihood of success than not, without all the effort on the individual side. So taking that burden of doing the work off the user from searching, swiping, getting handed a pile of faces to go through and say, your person's in here, probably, good luck, go find them. Um, that creates a whole different emotional structure than what we've provided here from a Haven perspective. So it's a different model, part of that third wave, like I mentioned, and so far so good. People are excited about it and they're enjoying the process.
Well,
Yeah,
that
I
sounds
bet.
cool. What you guys have been saying, yeah, I completely agree with it. And it's exciting to hear that it's not just about apps,
No,
right? But
right.
But I have a question about um, just to expand a little bit more about chemistry, because another thing that we're dealing for is that people do not think that chemistry is everything, but they think that chemistry is also compatibility. They think I have a great chemistry with this person. This person is the love of my life. So how do you define um, compatibility with chemistry? How do you deal with that too in your apps? Because people always think, oh, I'm feeling something so big and oh, the love of my life. And they don't see the red flags that we talk a lot in this podcast too, because they feel so excited and they are so happy about what are they feeling that they
Right.
misunderstood at the same time chemistry, but at the same time they are mistaking compatibility. And compatibility, as we know, it's very important to have a real relationship. Without that, it's almost impossible. But chemistry, it's something that it can be built with time. So how do you deal with that?
Sure. I would actually take it a little further and say there are three elements. There's chemistry, there's compatibility, and then there's also alignment. And
Exactly.
what I mean by that is, so to better answer your question, chemistry is not something that we can control. That's between the individuals that are, that are meeting. So what what generally happens with those first waves, like I mentioned, when you're introduced to somebody in the old days, like if you go way back to like the early 20th century debutantes, there's a good example. They were when young women came of age, they were coming out into society, basically saying that they were eligible to meet a suitor. and they were introduced thoughtfully to people that were good potential matches to them. But when you start talking about organic meeting, like, paths cross, lightning strikes, that's a chemistry conversation. There's an attraction, there's something that draws you to that person. And that is, that's human nature, right? And that's a great thing. That is to your point, is not compatibility. Compatibility, I view as a simple analogy would be like if you're going on a car trip and you have the same music preference, you get along, you have even the same restroom break schedule for stopping. That's a great level of compatibility. But what's also missing from that is the third piece, which is alignment. So if one person wants to go to Chicago and the other person wants to go to New York, there might be great compatibility. You might even have great chemistry, but you're not aligned on where you're trying to go, so it's still not going to work. So from a Haven perspective, we look for compatibility components and alignment components, and then make thoughtful introductions to see if chemistry can evolve. So we don't start with chemistry, we start with alignment and compatibility and allow you to determine whether chemistry exists or not. When you think about dating apps, they flip it around and do it the other way. It's swiping through photos. You're making a decision based on what somebody looks like, right? And that's basically no information at all. Right?
Yeah.
So we try to flip that around and look and leave the chemistry to the individuals. That's not our lane. I don't think anybody can predict chemistry. That's just not possible. But we can do a better job of compatibility and alignment before introductions are even made. And that's the whole point of Haven.
And when you speak of alignment, I mean that includes, for example, tastes in travel or sports or the food you like, the type of restaurant, common interests, basically.
I see that more as compatibility. When I talk about alignment, I'm talking about relationship intent, relationship structure, how you see that relationship moving forward. Do you want the same type of relationship that the other person wants? And then whether you both like certain things or whether you're compatible together, your let's say your attachment style or what have you. Those things are compatibility, but relationship intent and structure drive more. So, for example, one may want long term, one might want casual. One may say, I want children. The other says, I don't, or I already have children. I don't want any more. Those are alignment level things that we try to filter out before you even meet each other.
Wow, that's amazing because I don't mean to generalize, but I'm under the impression, given from my experience on these apps, and I know again you're not doing that. I think a lot of people there, yeah, they want casual. I get that impression,
Sure.
you know. So I think Haven is awesome because finally the people who really want something steady and long lasting will find it on your, well, I'm not going to say app. What would you call your
It is.
service?
It's not a mobile app. It's a web application. So, that was a deliberate choice. Again, we didn't want to have anything downloadable. We want
Oh,
people to engage their life, complete your survey, then go put your phone down, go do your thing. We'll let you know when it's time to pay attention. So it's all a deliberate intent to get people back engaging with others in their community versus spending time on screens.
I think
okay.
that's amazing because people lose a lot of time searching for someone in apps and they forget about everything else. They are
Right.
so to scrolling down and finding someone, and they really need to have that, ding, you have a match. And that,
Right.
I think that mentally speaking, that's a lot of pressure on the people who uses apps, dating apps.
Yeah, that's the reason why we went with a Match Monday model. So you don't have to check the app repeatedly to see if there's a new person that's matched with you or anything like that. Every Monday, we'll let you know what we found for the previous week. So you can again focus on your life, and we'll let you know when it's time to pay attention. It's it just we thought it was a much better model.
And I have another question. Um, how do you deal with the people that you don't have something on Monday? Because
Yeah,
that will be stressful at
Uh,
some point with that person too. I mean,
yeah,
maybe she's not or he is not just scrolling down, but he will or she will be waiting for that notification every Monday.
yeah. So, there's a couple ways that we do that. Number one, we're not going to communicate or send messages just to send messages to keep people engaged. You can always log in and take a look and see what's going on. There's nothing that stops you from doing that. If you don't have matches, we actually have another layer down that's not a match. We call those recommendations. And those are between 77 and 79% alignment for compatibility. And you can see those and make a decision whether you feel that they're worth your time, but we won't officially call those a match and worth an introduction. So we do have users that look at their recommendations, and some of them, like for example, a good reason why something might not be a match versus a recommendation is sexual orientation.
Oh,
Part of the survey, we'll ask questions. We ask questions that tie back to the nuance of human sexuality. So you think about the Kinsey scale, which many people aren't even familiar with. Albert Kinsey's work, to scale from 0 to 6, right? 0 being completely heterosexual and 6 being completely homosexual. And everything in between there, some variations of bisexual. And so our users, based on the answers that they give, may indicate that they only are interested in somebody that is a Kinsey 0, maybe a 1, but the person that is a near match for them is a 2. We won't show those people because
okay.
it's outside of how you answered those questions. But we won't show them as a match, but we will say this is a recommendation. Here's why it's not a match. Here's why it's a recommendation. And you can decide whether or not it's enough for you or if it works for you. We're not going to make that decision for you. So it adds a little bit more for people that don't get perfect or 80% or higher matches every single week. But our goal is not volume. I think we've been trained to think about volume. Dating apps have taught us that, there's always somebody another swipe away. That's not how real human connection works. And
Yeah.
there's also something called the paradox of choice, which we could certainly talk about. But we are here to provide quality, meaningful, high intent introductions. And if we don't have an introduction, we're not going to fake it.
I
that's
love that.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful because a lot of the apps do fake it. And and so I guess you vigilate the whole again, the as you said, the intent. I mean, what are the categories you offer? Casual, long term?
We don't.
You
We,
don't
we
at all.
so no, it's so if you look at the state of the network overall, like all the people that we have in the Austin network or the Tampa network or Portland or any of the others that are building right now, it is a wide range of intense. So you think about long-term casual friends with benefits. We have polycules in the network. People that are looking for 3 or 4 partners. We don't determine or we don't determine what is a reasonable connection or relationship. We just say be open and honest about what you're looking for. And if somebody else matches that, we're going to introduce you. That's it. So it's very, very flexible.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
That's
because
awesome.
all right, if I see polycule, I'm not going to go for that.
You would never see it because your survey answers would tell us that that's not something that you were interested. So you would never even be presented with those folks.
That's marvelous because yeah, on many I can say it on many apps, even though you fill out the supposed filter. Yeah, I mean, I have a specific age range, and I end up getting messages from guys in their 20s.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
congratulations.
and No, but that's not what I'm looking. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's really interesting. I'm like, oh my god, you could be my son, right? So it's really interesting to hear this, and it's very innovative because yeah, I'm not going to be looking at my phone. You
Right.
know, I'll be
That's right.
getting messages from you. But well, I'd like to mention. Okay, so uh, what do people tend to ignore when they're going through your app or apps in general? But I want to be with you. What have you noticed? Have you noticed a pattern of things people ignore, or have you noticed that on other apps?
I'd say with Haven, it's a little bit different. We don't really allow for much variation. It's just answer the questions that are presented to you as openly and honestly as possible. I'd say where variation starts to come in is in photos. I think that I think many people miss the mark is in photos. 6 different versions of your face isn't telling a story. Your photos are a great opportunity to tell a story about who you are, what it
Mhm.
may be like to be in a relationship with you. So I always recommend that whenever posting photos, there's a strategy or a plan around what you're posting and why, and what story you're trying to tell. I'd say that's probably the biggest miss that I see. I think people focus way too much on what the photo looks like versus what the photo is communicating, and that's a big miss.
Yeah, I totally agree because sometimes you see some pictures um, with a lot of filters. They want to look amazing. They don't look like their photos. They try to be in subjective in some way that maybe, as you said, send another message that they really want to send. And it's totally a problem with the pictures too, because yeah,
I'll give you a
sometimes
good example.
please continue.
Mirror selfies are a great example.
Mm.
If you're taking a picture in a mirror as a selfie, and you got your phone up there, you're doing that. What message is that communicating? If that's the message you want to communicate, that's great. For somebody like me that looks at that, it's like you don't know anybody that can take your picture, or
Exactly. I don't.
or a timer or something, or why are we in your bathroom? Like I don't really want to be in your bathroom either. So it's just comes down to what are you trying to communicate, and I always tell people try to think of what story or give some impression of what it may be like to be in a relationship with you, or to know you, or to be friends with you. What you know that's more important.
And I think it's very important because we have a lot of people reaching again to us because they don't understand why people always try to contact them for sexual reasons, and they never taking like seriously. And sometimes we have to be a little bit tough because we
Mhm.
are like, you need to pay attention about what you are posting. If all your pictures are like, look at me, and all the poses are more sexual than being you as a normal person,
Filters. Yeah, I'm
and
Correct.
being critical too.
filters and the poses and the faces, and um, it's very hard to someone who is seeing that kind of pictures. They're not wrong. I mean, everybody can take the picture they like and whatever. But if you want to be taking seriously the way you are presenting yourself in social media or in the apps, it's super important because, as you say, you are sending a message.
Correct. That's right. The other piece to it too, as you mentioned, and we talked about early, is it's low friction to enter these apps. So the goal of the app is to get you in there as quickly as possible and keep you there as long as possible. And so
Mhm.
anytime that you have a low barrier of entry, you're going to have a lot of different people with varying different intentions. I won't call it the lowest common denominator, but I mean, I think you can do the math and understand what I'm trying to say. So you will always have people that have different intentions in that pool, and they're all in one room together. So
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. No, completely agree with that. So, but going back to, okay, you mentioned alignment, which is, yeah, even if you share the same sports and that, but you have different schedules, or maybe I don't know. But if would you say compatibility matters more than chemistry itself? Because I mean, that's where find there's like a risk of becoming just friends, right? Not, and that's not a risk. That's a good thing, but it has happened to me in the past where I get along with this person really well, but there's no chemistry.
Sure,
But-
sure.
So would you just say you just got a new friend, or how would you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to sit here and say that we could accurately predict chemistry, I would be telling you a lie. We just can't do that. I don't think anybody can do that. That's just one of those things that is going to happen between two people naturally, or it's not going to happen. What we can tell you is simply that you both want the same things, and you're probably going to get along very well. And if there's a spark and there's chemistry, then that's the goal. But it is incredibly important, as you mentioned. That is the wild card, though. Yeah, that's just the wild card. But we can help. We can point you in a much narrower direction. So I think where the many risks come in is developing chemistry with somebody that you're not aligned with, or you don't have compatibility with, and then you find yourself in a jam. I'd rather have more friends than people or that I've started relationships with only to find out that this isn't going to work. And it's now I'm emotionally invested. They're emotionally invested, potentially. And that's a much harder thing to manage. So we try to solve for the problems that we can solve. And yeah, chemistry, unfortunately, that's in God's hands, not mine. I can't do
Yeah.
anything with
Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's
good to
something that it might be something that we can build when we have a person in front of us and sharing a conversation, and that kind
it.
of moment might create chemistry, but there's not something that we can just say, oh, these people are going to meet and that's it.
Yeah,
It's
and
gonna work.
lightning's gonna strike. I can't. Yeah.
That's not
Mhm.
possible. It would be
Right.
awesome though, but yeah,
It
sadly
would
that's
be awesome.
not work. That's not the way it works.
Yeah, well, and it's better. Well, that's what we tell people. Go in with a cool mind, like not overly eager or anything like that, because you might be setting yourself up for disappointment, and you don't want that. And yeah, in my case, I don't mind making more friends. I mean, you learn a lot from friends too. I think that's a very positive thing to bring into a new relationship. It doesn't have to be a romantic one. But
Mm,
I've noticed a lot of people who are just eager to find someone immediately and want to tick off all the boxes, and I think that's
right.
pretty much impossible, or it's like a strike of lightning, right? I mean, you have to go and meet
Sure.
people,
I
right?
think the flip side is also true in that sometimes you might be surprised when chemistry strikes. Um, when I've seen many people that have high intent alignment, high compatibility that have said, you know what, I would have never swiped right on this person, and that would have been a mistake. I actually really like them. And so giving space for chemistry to happen is also part of it too. We'd be surprised sometimes. And that's also part of the fun of doing what we do over here, seeing that
Yeah.
happen.
And going back to the red flags, do you think that there's a way to help people to stop misunderstanding what is a red flag? Because sometimes you have people who just said something that you didn't like, and that something triggers something. And how do you deal with that kind of stuff too? Because it's a questionnaire, and maybe in your answers, maybe someone is like, oh, but I said that I didn't want that, or they didn't understand me. For me, it's a red flag. How how can you deal with that kind of situations?
Yeah, I think the way we've built our algorithm to and the whole process tries to find what your major red flags are through the
Mm-hmm.
questioning process so that we can filter those out. We may present some, so ultimately, like for example, the sexuality component is one good example. Someone may say that is just a major red flag for me for whatever reason they say. And then, but we'll still make it as a recommendation regardless. Like if it's close, if it's too far off, we won't. Um, and so that's partially how we manage that is we look for those red flags and make sure that we can identify those. And then if there's anything that stands out, we'll present it to you. If it's not, if it's close. But other than that, there may always be things that people don't align with or agree with. But that's where communication comes in. And we do have a handful of tools that we provide to help people to better understand themselves, to better understand their connection style so they can talk to their partner. That's one of the biggest things that we try to promote is communication. At the end of the day, if there's something that's an issue, have a conversation about it. If it's a deal breaker, it's a deal breaker, but at least you had a conversation about it. We promote that very, very heavily and early.
Okay. And do you think that we have become too quickly to label people with red flags?
Sure, I do. I do. I think that's part of the gamification that we find ourselves in with how things are designed today. Swiping is like a slot machine. You just keep moving through and it's like, well, I don't like this, or and we become really, really micro nitpicky. And often because we know that there's somebody else one swipe away. And so that's partially what I was talking about earlier with the paradox of choice. And when you have infinite choice or infinite options, to making a decision and choosing becomes really difficult. So, but what if? I mean, all I have to do is one thumb swipe, and I have another option that might be better.
Yeah, yeah, it's always the better thing. Maybe if I'm settled with this one, I'm going to do the worst mistake of my life because might find someone better. But
Right.
what we don't understand is that maybe we are going to find someone better in something, but worse in the other thing. So it's impossible to continue with that kind of idea because there's no perfect thing in this world. That's not something that realistic thing to find. I mean, we all have issues, we all have problems, we all have traumas, we all have a lot of baggage. So
Right.
it's been very hard, I think, for this generation to find someone because of that, because they always, what if I find something better in this person? Maybe the girl I'm dating right now, it's amazing in this, but if I found someone with the same qualities and something better, it's like you never really close the door to meet someone because you want something and another thing and another thing and another thing and another quality, and it's like you're never going to end searching for the perfect person.
Right.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to ask you about the red flags. I mean, Rik, what would you consider a major red flag? It doesn't have to be a crime or anything, okay? But a major red flag, like small things that really you should take a step back and say, okay, this is just not gonna work. For example, punctuality, which is something I've seen looking at different countries. This seems to be a common problem, a common red flag. What do you think about the lack of respecting times?
Yeah. It's interesting. That's one of those questions that gets to personal opinion versus uh, you know, everybody has a different perspective on those things. So we try very hard not to apply our personal preferences to how Haven puts people together and makes introductions. So for somebody like me personally, punctuality would be an issue if you were late constantly and things like that. But I know for some people, they're like, it doesn't really matter that much.
Mm.
So we try to leave it open so that you can define your perspective and we can match you with someone else that feels the same way. But I completely agree with you. For me, that would be a frustrating red flag. Absolutely.
For the
And
three of us, I think it's a big first thing.
I mean, it's because look, the one, okay, money and forgiveness and that, but time is just something that doesn't come back,
correct. It's
so that's, that's why,
a
I think that
non-renewable resource. That's right.
And
completely,
it's
so.
also that you need to take care about the other person because they have things to do too. I mean,
Sure.
maybe you are like, okay, I'm gonna be late for I don't know, 20 minutes. Well, you have 20 minutes to do something else if they are
They
actually
let you know.
nice enough to tell you that they're gonna be late for 20 minutes. But
Right.
when you're just there waiting and waiting and waiting, you're like, I could do something else, and you're wasting your time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Another thing, how is that your algorithm can spot a red flag, a big one, like something that you can say, no, this person can be in this app because this person is very a very very high risk.
Yeah. So one of the ways that we do that is we've incorporated elements of the 5-factor personality model into the survey as well. So it goes beyond personal preferences and dating related things. We start to look at the psychology behind each individual. So their openness to new experiences, their level of extroversion or introversion, and we can make determinations based on those answers combined with other answers in the survey to predict really how that person would respond given situation. And so that's a little bit about how we do that. We use multiple different methods, not just do you like dogs or long walks on the beach.
That because we don't see that in the other app. It's like when you are in a normal or app, date app, you don't have that. I think that it's a dangerous part of dating apps that you never really know who is in the other side of the phone. Like it could be the mostest nicest person in the world, but it can be the biggest psychopath you can
That's
imagine.
true.
So
That's
I
true.
think that thing is very important because it makes a very big difference between your app and the others. It's like really paying attention of the safety of your users.
We do. That's a big focus for us. And there's two things that I want to share about that. Number one, the way we ask questions, we don't ask them linearly. So the survey, as I mentioned, is dynamic. It changes based on the questions or your answers to the questions. It's easy to lie linearly. It's less easy or not as easy for people to lie in an overall like structured survey like that. So when you're asked multiple questions at different times and from different perspectives and angles, and they're looked at individually, we can determine whether or not someone is being honest over here or disingenuous over there. So it's easier, it's harder to fake in a inconsistent pattern than it is to lie in a pattern. So that's one part. And then the second part is everybody is verified. That's another big piece. So in order to be a member in the Haven network, we use a third party, an independent third party. They take a selfie and whether it's a passport or personal ID, like a driver's license or something like that, to verify their identity. We don't do background checking, although that's something we likely will add if our users decide they want to do that, and we'll add it as an option. But verifying that you're a real human is number one. So that eliminates bots. It eliminates scammers and things like that for the most part. So that's really how we're able to prioritize privacy. And then obviously, as I said, there is no public database to search through. So your profile, your photos, and all of that are not searchable unless that person has met an 80% alignment with you or not in the first place. So privacy is a big part of what we do. It's very important.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah, no, I think it's crucial
Yeah,
in our
right now,
privacy
yeah.
these days. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just gonna share this. I did have one guy actually. I'm not gonna mention the app, but actually send me a message saying, "Can you read this in in your voice so I can record it because I need this for a job." And I was like, "What?" Very odd. Very,
Yeah,
very odd. This was yeah. And I said, "Well, you know what? No, because I don't know you." Oh, and they flipped. And I thought, "No, definite red flag," but very strange. A very strange request, although now with AI you can it's scary the way AI is taking over. Like now in the old days, for example, where I live, the banks would have things saying things like, um, just record your voice for us to know it's you. They've had to eliminate that because of the
Dave,
AI voices and that. I mean, how do you control all that? Because really it must be very challenging because it's going at light speed, this whole AI thing.
yeah, it's a thing for sure. Yeah. And
Yeah.
everyone in particularly in technology, are all figuring out how we best manage through the AI revolution.
It's revolution. I mean, we're making history, but it's awesome and scary at the same time,
Right,
So yeah,
right.
but I guess you have to also use your common sense, right? Like if somebody
Always,
asks, yeah,
always.
yeah,
So
well,
I think that the way you are uh, taking care of the security of these people is very amazing, because these days things are so crazy. We don't know anything about anyone. Sometimes you think you're talking with someone and it's an AI thing and it's another
Hmm.
person behind it. So I think it's very amazing what you're doing, because it
Thank
shows
you.
that you really care about your people and the people who are in your application. So I think your app is very, very awesome. I think
Thank
you're
you.
just using differences. No, sometimes people do that just for business, to get money, not for safety. And you have a lot of bad experiences, and we know that happened. So I think that what you're doing is amazing.
I
Seriously, I
appreciate
love it.
I appreciate that.
And
well,
if
I second that. I second.
yeah, so what would you say to someone who is listening right now to choose your app, and why? What do you offer differently? What do you say to convince them, to tell them that that's the best option?
Actually, don't tell them it's the best option. I tell them that it is an option that is available to them. If they like swiping and dating apps, continue to use them. There's no downside or risk in creating a Haven profile. It's free. And if we can provide quality introductions, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? So I won't ever talk bad about another application out there. And people like them. Some people have some great. Some people have good experiences and they're happy with it. And I say, good for you. But
Absolutely.
for the rest of us that need or want something different, I just say there's no downside to completing the survey. And let's see if we can make some good introductions for you. You can decide
Yeah.
what to do from there.
Yeah, and you think that dating apps should be the primary strategy for relationships, or you think that the old way is still the best way to meet someone?
I think it's I don't know that I would call it the best way or not, or it's just a way. It's one of the ways. And so from my perspective, if you are looking to make a connection with another person, why not use the tools that are available to you? We're not suggesting that meeting somebody organically is not as good. It can be just great. If you want to use a dating app, that's great. If you want to use the matching network model like Haven, that's great. To me, why limit yourself? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
certainly
options.
cost related, but if it's not a cost, then why not? Right.
Oh yeah, totally. And if you go international, let's say that you have someone in Australia and
Mhm.
someone else in, I don't know, Canada. How would you they match? Okay, that's a perfect match in your app. So how would you manage that? Because once you're in every single country in the world, that might happen, right?
No, actually, because Haven is a local based network. So one of the criteria is distance that we measure. So we're not really designed to foster long distance relationship or travel relationships. We get that question a lot too. It's like, well, if I'm visiting a certain city, um, can my profile transfer over there? No, because we're not a hookup app. It's not. There are other apps that do that very well. That's not who we are, what we're doing. So I suggest for those folks, use those. What we're focused on is trying to make meaningful introductions. And for whatever the intent is. So if somebody's in Canada, someone else is in Australia, they would never see each other if they set, because their proximity, we don't have a global model. It's a local model. You can set your parameters 50 miles or whatever, but it's going to be within that general area. It's not global ever. It's network by network.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and I understood that before. And yes, you're right, there are apps, but well, realistically speaking, I mean, most of us end up meeting somebody relatively close by. Most.
Correct. It's
I
hard.
do. Yes, I actually am a product of one of those exceptions.
Mhm.
I'm not going to go in further, but I mean, my parents, the chances of them, and they did meet, but that was the old-fashioned way. But I agree with you. I think for the most part, and I've read about it, most of the time you end up with somebody within your range, like distance-wise. So
Correct.
yeah. If
It's
you
just
live in, yes.
right.
Oh,
It's easier to develop a relationship. It's hard to do that long distance, and we can't solve all the problems for everybody. So we try to solve the biggest problems that are out there, and making connections with people in their local area is the bigger problem of the two. So that's the one we're focused on right now.
No, I love it.
Well, I think this model could work in other countries, but again, with that mentality that, okay, you're going to meet someone within that's relatively close to you distance wise. So yeah, I'm all for Haven going international, but that people understand that you're going to be meeting people that you can actually meet physically, right?
Correct.
As
And the community is a big part of it. As I mentioned, like I said, we partner we have what we call meetup spots. And this is something that's unique. So each market or city, so let's take Austin, for example. We identify neighborhoods within each market. And within each neighborhood, we identify one coffee shop, one restaurant, one bar, one hotel, and one activity spot. And those are our network partners. We actually have inside the application the ability to recommend. So let me give you an example. Two people match, they're communicating, they want to meet and go on their first date. There's an ability for them to look in the app. It tells them, you live here, you know that this person lives here. We recommend this place. It's about halfway between both of you. And this is one of our partners. And so those businesses benefit. They get people coming from outside of their geography that would never have been there. And it's a win-win for everybody. We're very, very focused on the community and building local networks. That is our model. So,
oh,
Yeah,
oh,
I love it because again, safety first.
absolutely.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah,
Fantastic. I think it's fantastic.
yeah.
But something else that you want to ask, Renee?
Well, I'm satisfied with what I've been hearing, and again, please, when it really takes Hey, welcome Haven, where I live. I'm not going to disclose where I live, but yes, I want something like that. And well, I really think it's great. It's innovative, and yes, I personally, yes, I've dated many people in my lifetime. And I've, well, I've been married and whatever. I mean, I've been there, done that. But right now, I'm at a point in my life where I just want to have a nice, calm relationship, and it would be great to have something like that here, because I'm going to stay where I live. I have no intention of moving right now. You know, some people are nomads, because that's the other thing. Some people spend their life, you know, I used to be one, but right now I've settled in a place. But for those people who move around, something like Haven, like if they finally found their place or whatever, and they were alone and wanted to meet somebody nearby, but they're not from there, but still an app like Haven would help them meet somebody in the area they're at, and where they've decided, okay, I'm gonna be here for a while.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that about 7% of the network, interestingly enough,
Mm-hmm.
are there to meet people for friendship, not for dating or relationship. They're there for community. So they're looking for like-minded people that do other things. So maybe they're yoga people or skateboarders or whatever. 7% of the network is there for friendship and community, which is fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought that. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
So you have a lot of services at the same time: friendship,
Yeah,
love.
all
It's a
structured around the same model. Really, just tell us who you are and what you're looking for, and if there's people that want the same thing, then we'll make the introduction.
That's terrific.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. It's excellent. And again, hey, good friends are always appreciated. So
yeah.
absolutely, all for it. Well,
Yeah.
Michaela,
Well, it was very instructive. I mean, I'm surprised. I didn't expect that. I was more like expecting something like the old apps, right? But
Right.
I think your thing it's amazing, because you really are taking care of people, and now in this world, I think it's something that it's very important.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, and just to know that the person using your app can count on that safety, because as Michaela said, yeah, that's number one. You know, not being exposed to any sort of danger or you know, swindling or whatever. That's
Right.
much appreciated. Mhm.
It was really an honor to meet you. I think your work is amazing, and it will help a lot of people to find the right person.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity.